Hey boys and girls, it's Ben the Coin Geek. Thanks so much for joining me today. I appreciate you taking the time to watch. This is a wrap-up video, a commentarium. That's a good word, right? This is our commentarium on the Texas Numismatic Association show that was hosted this last weekend in Arlington, Texas, 2023 Anno Domini, and good times. It really was good times, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. You know, it's always good to get out to shows and see a lot of different people and a lot of different dealers. And this is a good time for me to mention January 19th and 20th here in Tucson. There's going to be a show that I'm going to be hosting, and we're calling everything Coin Week in Arizona because 19th and 20th, the Tucson Invitational Show, which I'm hosting. The next day, that's a Sunday, there's going to be the local club show, so you have a little bit more of a local flair to it. And then the following weekend after that, you're going to see a show up in Mesa, which for those of you who don't know Phoenix, it's the Phoenix area. The show is actually hosted kind of near the Central Valley, kind of near the airport. So, and for those of you who also don't know the geography of Arizona, we are not New Mexico. And Phoenix and Tucson, about 2 hours apart, give or take. Okay, so now you know the lay of the land. Let's get on to the road trip, which is for me 14 hours, 13 hours, depending. And Arlington is a geographical oddity. It's like 5 hours from everywhere in Texas. So a lot of people who were there were from Arkansas, Oklahoma, South Texas. Of course, a lot of people from within the area. And I got to enjoy a book called The Devil in the White City, which is not a children's book, but it's also not a fiction. It storylines, two main stories, which is the building of the Columbian Exposition alongside of one of America's first serial killers. All happened in Chicago at the same time. You can't make that stuff up. Truth is stranger than fiction. And for those of you, a lot of you recommended the book to me, and it's really a fantastic book if you like the history. And you can own a Columbian Exposition $50, and you can think about all the things that went into the making of that event, and also the invention of the Ferris wheel, the invention of shredded wheat, among other things. The reason we have AC/DC, not the band, but alternating and direct currents versus just DC, just direct current. All of that goes back to the Columbian Exposition and so much more. It was a springboard for all kinds of different social changes and inventions. It's pretty wild. Also, it gives me a chance to show off one thing on the wall that I haven't shown, and one of my favorite items. This is an actual photo from the exposition. And for those of you who have seen or listened to the book, you understand how big the rotunda was in the central part of that park. And this is an actual photo. It was illegal. You had to pay a fee to get cameras in there. There was one head photographer, C.D. Arnold. This is an actual photo. Only cost me $500,000. And so, but if you went in there with a Polaroid, you would be promptly escorted if you did not pay the fee. Also, along with that, there's the Buffalo Bill, Wild Bill Cody. The whole thing was fantastic. It's really an amazing piece of history and worth listening to. The murder stuff is very gruesome, FYI. So if you're not wired for that. So thanks to everyone who stopped by at the show: George, David, Aaron, John, Chris, Dan, Marco, Jacob, Tim, Roger, Leo, Cliff. I can't, this is too many people. Shane, Tom. Okay. The Texas area, beautiful area. For those of you who aren't familiar with the area, one of the nice things about traveling to shows is you get to see the overall area. Rolling hills, a lot of what I think they call grass, and plenty of trees. Mid-80s, a little bit of rain, a little bit of humidity, not bad weather. I thought the weather's pretty reasonable for this time of year, and just a nice change of pace. So, and also the people are really great. And so I don't know, so like if some of you, if you travel to certain areas, you may have a certain voice style that does something to your psyche, like you really just, it rubs you the wrong way. Or the Central Texas draw makes people sound like the nicest human beings of all time. Can I just say that out loud? You know, just everyone talking to you is just starting to come on down, and we're going to talk real nice and pretty like so. And, you know, thanks for coming to the show. Where are you all from? And I just felt so welcome. It was fantastic. And thanks for all the hospitality to our Central Texas fans. For those of you who don't know, Doug Davis helps run the show. Doug Davis is also the guy who is in charge of the Numismatic Crime Investigators Unit, and he and I hopefully will do a Zoom meeting soon so that we can talk more about coin shows and coin show safety. Of course, they're very big on coin show safety there, as Doug is involved. The show is huge. I mean, really huge is the wrong word. If you went to the Central States show, of course, that is huge. But this show, there's over 100 dealers there. And one of my favorite things about the show is that they have a book auction, and they had dozens of tables of boxes of books. And this is going to be another video because I bought some books. But they had dozens of tables of boxes of books, opening bid individual books, opening bid a quarter, and then they had file boxes full of books also. And those were starting bid for $1. And most things went very inexpensively. There's a lot of old stuff in there, and it's just kind of a fun thing. So if you want to have some fun, it's a neat show to go to if you're within driving distance, just for that. And if you're within driving distance, you might not be within driving distance again, because next year the show is going to be in H-Town, coming down to the Houston area. Conroe, I think, is the name of the town that it's actually in. I'm not good with the suburbs of Houston, but there's a move because that location is turning into, I guess, a museum, and it it didn't feel too much like a museum, but a little bit while we were there. And so it's got to be tough when you're in a state the size of Texas, and it's the Numismatic Association for the entire state, to not have people really argue over where the show should be hosted, because Houston is big, right? And then, of course, the Dallas-Fort Worth area is huge. And then San Antonio is like, what about us? Like, we have a basketball team, we do stuff, right? So, and then everyone forgets about the West Texas town of El Paso, where I fell in love with a... Okay. So, El Paso is still in Texas, folks, y'all. So, that's got to be hard with the politics. I just think if you had a show in Arizona that was the Arizona State show, Phoenix and Tucson would probably want to grapple for it, and then Yuma and Prescott would be like, what about us? So, but it would be really difficult to actually rotate a show. The coin market itself, I thought, is still pretty good. Here's a good sign. I mean, wholesale is still very strong. I have no problem with shows where it's mostly wholesale. That's just a part of the industry. That's a part of the business. But for me, it's a good indicator that the market is strong when a lot of wholesale buyers are still buying at a very strong level. That's an indicator that they're making retail sales on the other end. And that's a good sign in general, in my opinion. The market is still pretty strong on most numismatic items. I didn't have a lot of world stuff with me. I didn't pick up much world stuff. I didn't buy a lot, but that had to do with my travel plans, because basically I got there, late Thursday night. The show was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I set up on Friday morning, and it was good to be home and sleep in my own bed last night. And so basically I had an hour to set up. The show is actually from 9 to 6, and then you leave. It's a long day, a little bit longer show. Most dealers stayed through the end of the day Friday. Saturday by 3 o'clock, you saw a lot of guys starting to break down. I will say that by Sunday morning, I would say 40% of the room was gone already, if not more, maybe 50%. I ended up booking it out of there earlier than I thought I wanted to, because I wanted to get home. And so I did leave Sunday morning around 10. And the show itself, though, has a pretty diverse group of stuff. I didn't see any paper currency dealers who just did paper money. Of course, there's plenty of silver stackers and stuff there, but there's a lot of really strong numismatic stuff there, both U.S. and world. And it's really interesting to see the diversity of shows, just the feel of shows. I talked to a couple of the guys who do world stuff, and none of them set up at Denver. They just don't seem to have a market in Denver. And it's just interesting to me to see the different types of shows and what type of diversity they have. And the show was also nice because it had the full spectrum of low beginner end stuff to high end stuff. And I talked to a lot of dealers. Most of them said they had a good show, which is better than last year, by the way. A lot of guys last year were grousing. Last year was really strange because it felt like by the end of the day, Friday, people were leaving. Like they weren't even there for Saturday. But I talked to a few guys who didn't have a very good show, and I tried to do a little business with them to brighten their day up a little bit. Not because of me, but because, money. So anyway, all in all, it's a show that I recommend going to. The other thing I was going to mention, a couple things. Bullion, it was really interesting from our perspective because I talked to a couple different guys on 90% silver, and they didn't sell stuff. They didn't have people ask for it. It didn't seem like there were a lot of bullion buyers at the show. Now, I didn't have any bullion guys right next to me, so it was hard for me to gauge that. Sometimes I'll have a bullion guy just a couple tables away, and I can really see how much foot traffic they're getting. And that's a different kind of thing because I can just kind of observe what's going on in the room and figure out how people are doing. The other thing is, I think at the last show I mentioned that the high denominations were stagnant for me. I did have a few high denominations left that I ended up getting rid of at the show, and I discounted them a little bit from where I was at, but not a whole lot. But so, I felt like I was already kind of at the max when I had them priced at the last show. And sometimes that's how you price stuff. It's like, well, I'm going to try to get full retail for something, and then if I can't at that point, maybe I'll take a little bit off. So there's always a longevity thing. This is funny, but don't use this against me, okay? But I actually sometimes will ask dealers if they have anything that they're sick of owning. You'd be amazed how many guys are like, yeah, here, can you just pay me 90%, 80%? I don't care, just buy this, take care of this, get rid of this. It's really a pretty funny thing. So anyway, I don't know if I'm going to make it to next year's show. I don't have the exact time and layout. Also, I don't know if I'm going to be going down to H-Town. I'm sure it's perfectly fine. I do have other things that I do while I'm in the Dallas area, so that is one of the reasons why I do that show. Also, from the time this is going on, I've got the June Long Beach show coming up. I think that's like the 22nd through 24th or something like that. And I will hopefully be able to do a few live streams. Thanks for everyone who joins during the live streams. When I'm on the road, I try to do at least one live stream with some noops if I can. And when I'm in Long Beach, we'll see what happens. I have a lot of other itinerary things to take care of while I'm there. But hopefully I'll be able to do some of that stuff. But also, another city, another state, be able to go and see new things, new people, and that'll be fun. And also, just a reminder, one more time, January 19th and the 20th, the Tucson show, everyone within 5 hours. It's an easy drive, 6 hours. So El Paso, Albuquerque, Vegas, everyone in Phoenix, come on down. All of SoCal, parts of Utah. Colorado's farther than that, but we're going to pretend it's not. But come on down to the show. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. I'm Ben the Coin Geek. You can subscribe by clicking on the owl button in the corner and watch more videos on the right side of the screen. Thanks.